Imagine if you could actually predict the future. Accurately, I mean, not just, who wins the Super Bowl, but big things, global market shifts, maybe major geopolitical events with real precision. It sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it? Well, today we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating, a new development that suggests AI models, well, they're getting shockingly good at exactly that. We're doing a deep dive into some really intriguing material today, mostly a YouTube video from Wes Roth, and it introduces this new benchmark called Profit Arena. It's sparking a lot of conversation, even drawing comments from people like Dan Hendricks. He's the director of the Center for AI Safety. So our mission here is to really unpack what Profit Arena shows us about AI's predictive ability and maybe more importantly, what this could all mean for the world, especially capital markets.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is how this challenges that old idea, the one where AI just memorizes things and spits them back out, this profit arena data.
Yeah.
It seems to point towards genuine prediction, a real capability, which really highlights why we need totally new ways to measure AI intelligence,
Yes.
going way beyond just simple questions or games.
Okay, yeah, that's a great place to start. Because for ages, AI benchmarks felt like, well, school tests, right? Multiple choice, or just getting the right answer. But what we're hearing now from sources like Roth's analysis is that these older methods, they're often just, well, either not good enough or surprisingly easy for these advanced models to beat. They just don't capture what these LLMs, these large language models, can really do now.
Which brings up a really key question for us, doesn't it? What is a true sign of advanced AI intelligence then? If you look at the bigger picture, we're seeing this explosion of creativity in testing AI. Things like the AI Village benchmark, or even just watching models like Claude, Gemini, GPT trying to play complex games like Pokemon. They're not perfect, obviously, but these scenarios give us a much richer picture of how fast AI abilities are growing.
Right. So if the old tests aren't enough, how do we measure this next level of intelligence, especially for predicting the future? And maybe backing up a bit, why is predicting the future such a huge deal for AI anyway?
Well, think about the power of knowing what's coming. It's almost like a superpower, isn't it? Imagine an AI that could digest just vast amounts of different data, maybe obscure financial reports, satellite images of factories, real-time social media chatter, and use all that to predict a sudden jump in a commodity price weeks before it happens. That kind of foresight isn't just about being right. It's about having an edge that could potentially outperform even very smart human analysts. It's moving beyond just analysis into, well, something closer to actual prognostication.
Wow, yeah. That puts it into perspective, makes you think about those prediction markets like Polymarket,
Yeah.
where people bet on, well, everything. Global conflicts, elections, Fed decisions, even sports scores. Being able to consistently call those things correctly, especially with high stakes, that's a massive game changer. And that leads us right back to Profit Arena. So let's get specific. What exactly is Profit Arena? Roth describes it as separate, a standalone live benchmark just for predictive intelligence. And it's interesting that it's not part of the usual AI safety community stuff.
Exactly. And what's fascinating about how Profit Arena works is the measurement. They get various top AI models, Quinn, supposedly GPT-5, Grok, Gemini, and they ask them to predict probabilities for real-world events. And these aren't simple things. We're talking about predicting how many countries might create crypto reserves or hurricane categories, football results, even who's performing at the MTV VMAs, stuff like that.
Okay, so they make these probability predictions. How do they score them? How do you measure how good a prediction is?
They use a specific metric called the Breyer score. Basically, it measures the statistical accuracy of that probability prediction. It calculates the mean square difference between the prediction and what actually happened. So it's not just right or wrong, it's about how confident the AI was and how accurate that confidence level turned out to be. Like predicting 90% for something that happens is much better than predicting 60% for something that happens, even if both were technically correct directionally.
Right, right. So based on that Breyer score, who's doing well, what's the leaderboard look like now?
Well, right now, GPT-5 and this model called O3 that's likely Anthropic are in the top spots, 1 and 2, both showing really high accuracy. Gemini 2.5 Pro is just behind them in third. What's also interesting is that Grok 3 Mini and Grok 4 are performing pretty respectably too. And we're even seeing some open source Chinese models up there, Kimi K2, DeepSeek Chat V3, Qwen 3. They're doing well, although DeepSeek Coder 1 is performing quite poorly in comparison.
Accuracy is one thing, but the video you mentioned, Roth's video, it hints at something maybe even more interesting. Dollar-based return. How do they calculate that?
Ah, yes. So they simulate the profit you'd expect if you used an optimal betting strategy based on the AI's prediction. Usually it's like placing a hypothetical $1 bet for each event on a platform like Koshi, which is similar to Polymarket. This dollar figure really gets at the decision value,
Yeah.
how much money you could actually make by following the AI's advice.
Okay, now this is where it starts to feel really tangible, doesn't it? If these AIs can consistently predict things better than the human consensus or human experts, that creates what the analysis calls an arbitrage opportunity, right?
Exactly right. If you're using these models to guide your decisions, whether that's betting or actual financial trading, you could potentially make significant money, at least until the wider market catches up to this new source of information. The speculation, like you heard in the video, is that this could mean millions, maybe even billions, for the people who get in early. Eventually, though, that opportunity probably closes. It might just become AI versus AI trying to predict things. And this really challenges that old idea, the efficient market hypothesis, the idea that all info is already priced in. If AI can consistently find these edges, well, it suggests markets aren't as efficient as we thought. Or at least AI can find inefficiencies humans can't.
And what's the data shown so far? I know the benchmark is pretty new, like only a month old or so.
Yeah, it's very recent. In the absolute beginning, some models like GPT-5 and O3 Mini showed just incredible returns, like 5.352 times and 5 times their initial stake, respectively. Just huge. Now, over time, those really spectacular returns have settled down a bit, converged somewhat below 1. But even now, O3 Mini is at 0.93 and GPT-5 at 0.73 return factor, which are still quite a bit higher than the overall market baseline score they track, which is 0.844. So it shows they still have a sustained edge, even if it's maybe not quite as dramatic as those first few days.
So it's not just about winning more bets, it's also about how much they win when they are right, especially when they go against the market.
Precisely. The average return comes from both how often you win and the size of that win, the magnitude or the edge, the model spots. There's a great example with O3 Mini in a Major League Soccer game, San Diego versus Toronto. The market odds implied Toronto only had about an 11% chance of winning, pretty low. But O3 Mini, it predicted a 30% chance, much higher, and Toronto actually won. So for O3 Mini, that prediction led to a $9 return on just a $1 bet. It just perfectly shows the AI spotting significant positive expected value where the human market didn't see it.
Wow, that MLS example really makes it clear. AI spotting something the crowd missed. But maybe even more important, the analysis mentions that the reasoning traces are recorded, like how the models thought about the prediction, what info they looked at. So thinking ahead, what does having that kind of data mean for developing AI further?
Oh, that's absolute gold. Pure gold for reinforcement learning. Having all that data together, the prediction, the reasoning steps behind it, and the actual outcome, it's incredibly powerful. It creates this fantastic feedback loop. AI companies can use it to essentially tell the model, good job if the prediction was right and profitable, or bad job if it was wrong. It teaches the models how to approach these problems better over time, how to refine their own prediction strategies. You can think of it like a coach reviewing game film with a team, play by play, learning from every single move.
And this isn't just a theory, right? The video actually pointed to an OpenAI job ad for a research engineer focused bets.
That's right. Yeah, that job post is pretty telling. It strongly suggests a strategic direction. They seem to be pairing top machine learning PhDs with people who have deep domain knowledge, like market investing experts, financial analysts, that sort of thing, to create these reinforcement learning gyms, you could call them. It kind of echoes what Google DeepMind did with AlphaFold, combining the ML specialists with biologists to crack protein folding. It's this powerful intersection of fields that used to be pretty separate.
Okay, so we're not just talking about one-off predictions from these standard out-of-the-box models anymore. This sounds like the start of a really sophisticated feedback system, one that will constantly make them better predictors.
Exactly. The models we see on Profit Arena now are mostly the general LLMs, kind of as they come. But imagine taking that general reasoning power and then using reinforcement learning, specifically tuned with this unique real-world prediction data. It feels almost inevitable that someone's going to figure out how to fine-tune these LLMs specifically for market prediction. Maybe even adding specialized AI agents that go out and gather sentiment data or scan news in real time. This is really different from older systems. Older systems might have used reinforcement learning for betting, sure, but they didn't have the broad general intelligence or the huge knowledge base of today's LLMs. This feels like a genuinely new frontier.
So where does that leave us? It really seems like we could be right on the verge of an era where AI models might just be flat out better at predicting complex market stuff, maybe even broader world events than even the sharpest human professionals. This isn't just a small improvement, is it? It feels more like a paradigm shift.
Yeah, the insights coming out of Profit Arena really suggest a future where AI prediction could just fundamentally change how we deal with capital markets, maybe even how we understand the world itself. That arbitrage window, where you can use this AI edge for big gains, it seems open for now. But as the AI gets smarter, as these models become more common, what happens then?
And that leads to a really profound question, I think, for you listening. As these AI models become genuinely superhuman at predicting real-world events, especially in these complex financial and global systems, what are the consequences, short-term and long-term? Could it lead to this incredibly fast flow of information? Maybe markets become almost perfectly efficient because the AI finds every edge instantly? Or does it lead to something totally different, something that fundamentally reshapes how society works, how decisions get made? It's a really powerful thought to consider, isn't it? Because the future of intelligence, it feels like it's unfolding right now, right in front of us.